Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I have several things having to do with the NSA for you right now. And then there's a couple other articles that I found that I'll put at the end that I thought were interesting as well. Anyway, we're going to start with this one from Yahoo News. NSA finds major security flaw in Windows 10. And what do? They give a free fix to Windows. So yeah, this happened just recently. You'll notice the date on this is January 14th. And so the NSA has discovered a major security flaw in Windows 10 operating system that could let hackers intercept seemingly secure communications. But rather than exploit the flaw for its own intelligence needs, the NSA tipped off Microsoft so that it can fix the system for everyone. So Microsoft released a free software patch to fix the flaw Tuesday and credited the intelligence agency for discovering it. The company said it has not seen any evidence that hackers have used the technique. So I just wanted to point that out to you. I thought it was really interesting that the NSA did that for Windows, because so many of us use Windows. It actually is helping the entire country when they do that. So just an interesting little factoid there. So if you're Windows 10, if you're using that and it's recently updated, then that's probably why. And if it hasn't recently updated and you don't have the auto updates on, you might want to have that fixed, okay? So do a little update there, make sure it's current. The NSA says so, right? Okay, let's go on to the NSA. Here's their nice little Twitter account, and the CSS there is the computer part of it, the Central Security Service, I guess, is what that stands for. And so they put this out. Congratulations to UNG News, who came out on top of this year's Codebreaker leaderboard. So what's Codebreaker? Well, hey, folks, there's a competition. And now, this only applies to people that are in college or high school. But for us old folks, there's also an opportunity there if you'd like to work for the NSA. If you enjoyed this year's challenge and want to get paid to break codes, join our team. So you can take this link, which is right here. That's the main website for the NSA. And here's the Codebreaker link. Well, it comes through, cycles through. And then there's a job exploration tool that you can take or search the jobs at NSA. So yeah, there are jobs for people like you and me if you want to. Anyway, this is the link to the Codebreaker challenge, and you can read about it. It is ended now, and it is 2020, and this was a 2019 Codebreaker challenge. So it has ended, but they did want to congratulate the University of North Georgia, who had a top place finish. Now, they not only finished, but wait until I get there and show you. Okay, so when you click on the challenge, you can see what it was. It's a series of tasks that are worth a varying amount of points based upon their difficulty. All tasks will become available immediately once the challenge goes live and can be solved in any order, though there may be some dependencies between tasks. The point value associated with each task is based on relative difficulty, and schools will be ranked according to the total number of points accumulated by their students. It is still recommended to solve tasks in order since the tasks flow with the storyline, but that is not a requirement. Solutions may be submitted at any time for the duration of the challenge. Good luck. And then it has a disclaimer here. The following is a fictitious story. I think like CNN and MSNBC need to start showing this disclaimer. So, the following is a fictitious story meant to provide realistic context for the Codebreaker challenge and is not tied in any way to actual events. And so it goes through, tech-savvy terrorists have developed a new suite of communication tools to use for attack planning purposes. Their most recent creation, Terror Time, is a secure mobile chat application that runs on Android devices. This program is of particular interest since recent intelligence suggests the majority of their communications are happening via this app. So anyway, it sets up this scenario, and then they try to figure out these different challenges. And here's the leaderboard. Now, of course, obviously it already ended. So, that's not going to tell you that much. But check this out. Look at their score. The University of North Georgia had 230,450 points. And then the next one was the Georgia Institute of Technology that only had 56,000. Look at that. That's like a huge difference in points. They just nailed this. I mean, they were in command of the entire thing, it looks like. Look at those scores. So you can go through here, you can look at all the different scores that there were. It's kind of interesting, and they have the different tasks, and there were 532 different entries. So yeah, there they are. If you want to look through them, you can even search if you want to search for one, a specific one that you know, and you can change it so you can see more entries all at once. But anyway, I thought I'd show you that. And then the resources, kind of interesting on the resources. The NSA is about protecting our country and its citizens. It's about facing off against unseen adversaries, understanding their languages, protecting information systems, keeping leaders informed and the nation safe. NSA is about doing something that matters and using really advanced technology to make it happen. So thought this was interesting. They have student programs, there's internships. So hey, if you're in that age range, or you know somebody in that age range and they happen to like to do this kind of stuff, you know, if they find it intriguing and they want to work for the NSA, there you go, they could. And then they're also looking for full-time professionals. So if you're a full-time professional and you want to see what there is, you can click there. Or more likely, by the way, you can also go here. The news is like for the competition, and then the FAQ gives a little more overview on it. But if you go to the main, if you go back to the main page and you go down here, they have the jobs you can look for. You can explore those, or you can go through this job exploration tool. And yeah, Deb did that because, you know, that's just who Deb is. She likes taking tests like this. So it wasn't really a test. It was just like, what do you have experience in? What degrees do you know, what do you have degrees in? Those kinds of things. And so, yeah, they think that I could work in foreign languages, which is probably a good bet. And intelligence collection, that sounds fun. And communication and public affairs is what they would recommend. But they also said possibly education and training, general administrative support, mathematical sciences, maybe. I do like math. Inspection, investigation, and compliance. So anyway, those are some of them that they have. I mean, they have different kinds of careers. Obviously, if you click on these, you'll find out what careers they have available with that. And there are various different kinds. Yeah, I have a passion for foreign languages. Oh, really? Even though I messed up on the Farsi thing. Thank you so much for all of you that corrected me on that, because, you know, I knew it, but those brain cells that knew that fact, that in Iran they speak Persian or Farsi, yeah, those brain cells seem to have taken a vacation that night. So I'm sorry about that one. But I thank you that all of you pointed that out to me, because, yeah, that was like a duh moment for me that I should have done differently. But yeah, anyway, I do know a little bit about some foreign languages, it would seem. And so I do have a passion for languages. And I think I do okay with oral communication, written communication, hopefully, and critical thinking skills. Those would be things that I hope that I have and that I could do. And I do enjoy research, translation, transcription, not so much there, but reporting and analysis, yeah, I could do those. And I do tend to understand the nuance of foreign languages. But anyway, so then it gives you everything, and you can select your agency, the different ones that you could be involved in, because those agencies need it. So if you're looking for a job, this might be something you want to look into. I mean, there's all different kinds that, you know, there's computer science, cyber, engineering, physical sciences, all of these different types of things. Law and legal services, boy, I bet they need those. Medical and occupational health, lots of different places that you might be able to find a job. They have all different kinds of jobs that they need people to fill. So there you go. That could be something you could look at. Just wanted to point it out to you. Then came across this one, and I had in a previous video, I had that link to the deep fake video where the impersonator did different impersonations with his voice, and then they changed his face to look like that person. It was really kind of creepy if you did watch it. I mean, several did and commented on it. But here is something to give us a little bit of hope. The Energy Department has said Deep fakes. Well, Los Alamos National Lab research team is creating algorithms that notice subtle differences between real and computer generated videos. And so here's an example where they show you, but these are not real people. So you see they've figured out the deep fakes and they are trying to keep ahead of it. So I think this is going to come into play shortly, because I think there are some videos out there of high profile people that when they come to light, those people are going to be desperate to say that they are deep fakes. And hopefully we're going to have the ability to discern whether they are or aren't, because it can be pretty tricky. Anyway, so I'm going to leave that. You can watch that video if you want to. All the links will be down below in the description. You may have to click a little triangle or dots or something to make it pop open, but yeah, they'll be down there. Okay, and then I came across this one, which was a response by Sidney Powell to this person. Look at that. He's a disciple of the 17th letter of the alphabet. And that person, this was in response to the Lou Dobbs video that I mentioned before. Lack of justice. Sidney Powell says federal prosecutors are attempting to send Michael Flynn to prison by changing their narrative, which is what they're doing, definitely. And there's a video there, by the way, that's worth watching if you get a chance. And this one says, I hope she doesn't accept a deal to get the charges dropped. It will never change if heads don't roll. And she says, don't worry, no deal. Isn't that nice to hear? And just interesting that she responded to that person. I thought that was kind of interesting. So then I found this article, and I thought you'd be interested to see this, that dead people, illegal aliens, and non-residents lose their voting rights in Wisconsin. This came out on the 15th, and you'll see that it's talking about the driver's license issue, because Democrats have been trying to get driver's license all across the United States for the illegals because they want them to drive safely, I guess. So this is a real problem, because a lot of voting places, all you have to do is go in and show some kind of ID. Well, if you have a driver's license, it doesn't matter if your driver's license is for an illegal or if it's for a regular citizen, because they look the same. So it doesn't matter. It says here that the Democrats are trying to get driver's licenses for illegal aliens, saying that somehow their having a driver's license will make the roads safer. Conservatives know that that is a tall pile of steaming fertilizer. Dems just want illegals to get licenses because that's also a quick and dirty way to get an illegal registered to vote. And that is true. The driver's license looks just like any other legal citizen's driver's license, and once they are on the voter rolls, all they have to do is show up at the polls, flash that driver's license, and they can vote illegally. Fortunately, there are still some people out there that believe in democracy, the sanctity of the voting booth, and the laws that protect both. One of those people is this county circuit court judge, Paul Malloy. And this Ozaukee, I hope I'm saying that right, county is a small county of just 86,000 people in Wisconsin bordering Lake Michigan, and is 15 miles north of Milwaukee. Wisconsin is also one of those battleground states. Trump won the popular vote in 2016 by a mere 20,000 vote margin, less than 0.5% of the population. What Judge Paul Malloy is fighting for is to get up to 234,000 voters that, quote, may have moved off the rolls by the primaries this year. You don't have to be a math whiz to see that number of questionable voters is 10 times the margin that Trump won with. That number is 4% of Wisconsin's population. A conservative law firm, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, brought the case to Judge Malloy on behalf of 3 voters. They argued that these 230,000 plus voters who did not respond to an October mailer within 30 days and were flagged as potentially moved should be removed from the voter rolls immediately. The Wisconsin State Elections Commission, a bipartisan group, was deadlocked on removing the moved voters and fought the lawsuit. Why? Why would you fight this? They argue the law gives it the power to decide how to manage the voter registration list. They, of course, want to wait until the presidential election before removing anyone. Their claim is those identified as having moved may not have moved, and removing them would create confusion. Yeah, well, you know what? If you really want to vote in the presidential election, you're going to make sure that you're registered, right? And so if they send you a card that says, hey, are you still registered to vote? In order to register to make sure that your registration is current, you need to do this, then you do it because you want to vote. So I don't see what the big fuss is, but the Democrats are pitching a hissy fit. Of course, I know why, but anyway, the commission weekly stated that leaving a registered voter on the poll does not mean they will actually commit fraud by voting at their old address. Well, no, it doesn't, but it sure does open up the opportunity. Funny concept, since actually removing them will actually mean they cannot commit fraud. No second guessing necessary. The Elections Commission took it upon themselves to not deactivate voters. Their excuse was that after 343,000 voters in 2017 were flagged as potential movers and more than 300,000 people were deactivated, it caused confusion, anger, and complaints. The Assistant Attorney General, Carla Keckever, in defense of the commission, testified that the ruling would create irreparable harm. This would create chaos to do this now, she said, referring to upcoming elections in February. Yeah, they want to get it out before the primaries, but it's like, yeah. Rick Eisenberg, attorney and president of Will, that law firm, disagreed, citing that Wisconsinites can register to vote online at myvote.wi.gov at their clerk offices or at the polls on Election Day. And Judge Malloy said Wisconsin law clearly required the Elections Commission to deactivate voters who did not respond to the mailing within 30 days. The commission had no basis to set a different time frame. I don't want to see anybody deactivated, but I don't write the legislation, Malloy said. If you don't like it, then I guess you have to go back to the legislature. They didn't do that. Citing their inaction, Malloy said the commission had flouted his December order, and he held 3 members of the commission in contempt of court. Malloy ruled the commission must pay $50 a day until it starts taking people off the rolls. In addition, he fined the 3 Democrats on the commission who have fought taking people off the rolls, Ann Jacobs, Julie Glancy, and Mark Thompson, $250 a day. So, yeah, go for it. Go for it, because, of course, it's 3 Democrats that are fighting it. I can't be much clearer than this, Judge Paul Malloy said. They need to follow my order. The state Supreme Court ruled later in the day that it would not get involved in the case for now, leaving it to a Madison-based appeals court to handle, a decision that gave libs hope that they still had a chance to steal the election. The election season is around the corner in Wisconsin. February 18th is a voting date for local offices, state Supreme Court, and a vacant congressional seat in northern Wisconsin. The state's presidential primary is in April. So Rick Eisenberg said he hoped Monday's order would prompt the commission to take people off the rolls. Court orders are not and have never been optional. It is our hope that today's decision will cause the Wisconsin Elections Commission to finally follow state law, he said. So there you go. Yep. Thought that was interesting. The DC Clothesline is a good one. It has a lot of different articles that are worth reading, and this is one of them that I thought you needed to see. So there's one, and then here's another one that I found that I thought you'd be interested in, having to do with the courts again. Federal court tosses junk global warming lawsuit by brainwashed kids against U.S. government. So yes, there were these kids, and this came out on January 17th, which is today when I'm recording this. And so a federal court tossed a global warming lawsuit by a group of indoctrinated children who believe the global warming threat is real. They need to do some research on what these junk scientists were saying 11 years ago. And if you take this link, it'll take you to an article that talks about 11 years ago, they were saying exactly the same things, that the world was going to end in 10 years, and oh no, we're all going to die soon. I mean, it's the same stuff they're peddling now. It really is. The kids wanted to sue the U.S. government for allowing fossil fuels. someone needs to ship these kids to Alaska with a couple windmills and let them give it a go. I thought that was pretty funny. This is from Reuters. A federal appeals court on Friday threw out a lawsuit by children and young adults who claimed they had a constitutional right to be protected from climate change in a major setback to efforts to spur the United States government to address the issue. In a 2-1 decision, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said the plaintiffs, who were 8 to 19 when the lawsuit began in 2015, 8 years old, get that, lacked legal standing to sue the United States. Circuit Court Judge Andrew Hurwitz said the majority reached its conclusion reluctantly, given compelling evidence the government had long promoted fossil fuels, despite knowing they could cause catastrophic climate change, and that failing to change policies would hasten a, quote, environmental apocalypse. Remember, this is Ninth Circuit Court, though, here, see? The Ninth Circuit Court. And yet, they still turned it down. I think that is huge, folks. The Ninth Circuit Court is changing, and it's not near as liberal as it was. They're trying to be, but of course they didn't say anything about it. 21 children and young adults had accused federal officials and oil industry executives of violating their due process right to a, quote, climate system capable of sustaining human life, by knowing for decades that carbon pollution poisons the environment, but doing nothing about it. Yeah, these kids really need to go to China, okay? Because that is the biggest offender. Right now, the U.S. is not the biggest offender of any kind of pollution in the air. It's China and a lot of the third world countries. So why aren't they protesting them? I don't know. I guess it's first world problems, when you don't have anything else to complain about and your bellies are full, you might as well complain about that. So anyway, this is another one I wanted to point out to you because I think this has really slipped under the radar. Federal judge orders Justice Department to explain why Awan documents are being kept secret. And this came out on the 14th. An apparently frustrated federal judge ordered attorneys for the Department of Justice to appear January 15th for a snap hearing to explain why the government isn't producing documents sought by Judicial Watch concerning former Democratic information technology aide Imran Awan. Now, if you don't know about Imran Awan, wow, there's a big deal about him because he was the Pakistani guy with ties to Pakistani terrorists who was working in the Obama White House. Well, he was working with the Obama-era Democrats in the House, and he had like 80 of them sign on. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz was the original one, and she got a waiver for him so the FBI wouldn't do a background check on him. And then like 80 other Democrats signed off on it, and they said, well, he doesn't need one because she said he didn't need one. So yeah, they all signed a waiver, including Joe Donnelly, who used to be my senator. So I'm very glad that Joe Donnelly's not back in there, because this guy, this Imran Awan, had access to all of their computer information. Everything. You complain about the Russia hack of the DNC, which still is not been proven, but this is even bigger. This is huge. This was a hack, essentially a hack of all of those people, all of those current members of Congress. I mean, this was crazy. Now, of course, this happened a few years ago, so, people aren't as aware of it, but it's been going on for a long time, and he was taken to court and kind of got a slap on the hands. So anyway, Judicial Watch is trying to get these documents, and they've been sealed. U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, Judge Amit Mehta's unusual order followed a sealed submission by DOJ's attorneys January 10th in the case prompted by the nonprofit government watchdog's November 2018 Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. Such hastily convened hearings are extremely unusual in a federal judicial system so jammed that months can pass before cases are litigated in courtrooms. In a hearing last month, U.S. District Court Judge Amit P. Mehta expressed frustration and ordered the Justice Department to explain its failure to produce records by January 10th and to provide Judicial Watch some details about the delay. Judicial Watch said in a statement January 14th about the snap hearing. Instead, the Justice Department made its filing under seal and has yet to provide Judicial Watch with any details about its failure to produce records as promised to the court, Judicial Watch said. Federal attorneys previously said in December 2019 that they were unable to provide the documents sought in the Judicial Watch FOIA request because they include materials from a, quote, related sealed criminal matter. Now, that may or may not be a good thing, folks, because we know that there are a bunch of sealed indictments out there. This could be involved in that matter because there's a lot of people who are under investigation, and there are a lot of grand juries that are being impaneled to look into all these different details. Now, I know people are saying we haven't seen anything, so nothing's happening, but on this, I have to stand there in just kind of I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing that it's under seal. Is it under seal? And are a lot of these other documents under seal because they are part of that related criminal matter that's being investigated, and they're working up cases on those too? I mean, you have to understand that all of these things going on behind the scenes are so intricately woven together. I mean, I have shown you that many, many times, how connected these people are. You look at one and you find out that they're connected to somebody else. Like the other day, I did the one where the guy was connected to CrowdStrike. Yeah, the former federal agent that had been looking into Cheryl Atkinson, and then he resigns. I assume he resigned, or maybe he was fired. I'm not sure which. It never said. And then he goes over and he becomes like the CEO of CrowdStrike. So yeah, they're all connected, folks. They are so connected. So this is not a matter of, oh, we can take this case and try it, and then we can take this case and we can try it. No, 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 no. This is so big that when one goes, they're all going to have to go. Where they go one, they go all. That really is very true. So this is something to keep in mind. And like I said, in that respect, there may be a good reason why, Judicial Watch hasn't received those yet. And I hope that's the reason. I hope so. I hope it's not for another purpose, trying to hide it, and the deep state people trying to protect the Awans. If you don't know, Awan, a Pakistani national, and several members of his family and friends were IT aides to more than 40 Democratic members. I saw 80. Okay, I saw a list with 80 on it. So I don't know why they go 40 here. Maybe that's all they could prove. But anyway, they were Democratic members of key national security and foreign policy committees in the House of Representatives. Their positions gave the aides access to all the members' digital communications and documents. With the exception of Imran Awan, all of the Anon network members lost their access to the House IT network in February 2017 as a result of a report by the top House administrative officials that said the aides, quote, are an ongoing and serious risk to the House of Representatives, possibly threatening the integrity of our information systems and thereby members' capacity to serve constituents. Imran Awan was kept on the House payroll by then Democratic National Committee Chairman, Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, until he was arrested by federal agents while trying to leave the United States. Awan was subsequently charged with bank fraud in connection with a loan from the Congressional Federal Credit Union. I mean, just a slap on the wrist, really. But I think that's because they're keeping more of it, for future indictments. Awan pleaded guilty in a plea deal in which federal prosecutors agreed to drop a bank fraud charge against Awan's wife and said they found no evidence that he, quote, illegally removed House data from the House network or from House members' offices, stole the House Democratic Caucus server, stole or destroyed House information technology equipment, or improperly accessed or transferred government information, including classified or sensitive information. Okay, I think probably that's like all bogus, that he really did those things, because that was the big charge. He actually stole technology equipment, and he got like members of his household, he got them all these really big amounts of money in salaries, and they weren't doing anything. And so, yeah, this Awan served no time in prison and only 3 months of supervised release. His attorney in the bank fraud case was a longtime associate of, guess who? Bill and Hillary Clinton. I told you they all go together. And if you really want to find out about the Awan, you got to look into the Daily Caller, because they went after it big time. And I'll tell you, they really needed to be stopped. And so they were, but right now, where's it at? I don't know. It could be that they've been testifying against some of these people. So I don't know. I haven't read their plea deal. I need to probably look for that and see if I can find it. Sometimes those are easier to find than others, and I don't have a Pacer account, so it's harder for me to get the documents if they're not posted somewhere else. So I thought you would like to see that. So that's what I've got for you on this one. It's been a lot of several things, but all the links will be down below. You can read the whole articles if you want, and spread the news. This is the thing. We are the news now. We need to make sure that people know what's going on. And this is from the Epoch Times. And if you don't know, the Epoch Times has been doing a stellar job at reporting things. And if you recall, Trump ended up tossing out all the subscriptions. He refused to have them renew the subscription for the New York Times in the government. Well, they do have a subscription to the Epoch Times. All the senators do. Now, I don't know about the representatives, but all the senators have a subscription to the Epoch Times. I think that is great, because they do an awesome job getting the truth out there about what's happening. So, very good. Anyway, whether this is good news or bad news, I think that's going to remain to be seen. I think it's probably worth looking into, and we'll just have to wait to see how this all plays out, because like I said, when it happens to one, it's going to happen to them all. It's going to have to be a massive one-time reveal, because there are so many different connections between them that they all kind of are like one big mass, and you've got to cut it out. It's like a tumor. You got to cut the whole tumor out. You can't leave little bits and pieces and only take part of it. You got to do the whole thing. So anyway, and this looks like a really interesting story that might be worth reading too. I just love reading the Epoch Times. I quite often read it from cover to cover. Well, actually, if you get a subscription to it, you get the online reader, and then you will also get, like once a week, you get an actual newspaper, like several sections and everything. So really well done. I don't get any money from them or anything for promoting them, but I think if you're going to get one newspaper these days, this is the one to get, because it's definitely worth it. And the reader is really nice. I like reading it. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.